Hey guys, welcome to Gadget First. Today we're looking at the Sony AS15V. This is Sony's first action camera. They have a couple newer ones out, but this one you can actually get for a very good deal. Because it's a slightly older one, you can get it at a very good deal price-wise, and you can get lots of accessories bundled with it. So let's take a closer look at the AS15V. So coming in at just a penny under £100, this is for the bare bones kind of kit. All you get is the camera itself, the waterproof casing, and a couple mounts like this. This one is for the flat surfaces like that, little kind of adhesive on the bottom to help it stick to flat surfaces. And you get another one which is slightly curved, so it might stick better to a helmet. But other than that, you don't get any kind of accessories really. So it's quite bare bones when it comes to that. So going into the way the camera can mount, there is no mounting options on the camera itself, which is quite an issue for me, because you have to have it in this waterproof case, which in turn mounts to this tripod mount, which, although yeah, it makes a really nice secure mount, it's possibly not the best way of mounting it, because you can get condensation in here, it muffles the sound a little bit, well, quite a lot actually, and so, you know, it's not really the best option. I think Ion probably have the best option as far as mounting goes, because you have the tripod mount directly on the camera with no need for an extra thing. And obviously this is just a normal camera without its case. It's not waterproof at all. It's only waterproof when you put it in here, so that's kind of a problem if you just want it out like this. So, you know, other cameras have their benefits as well, but underwater you're probably going to get better footage with this than an Ion, say, because the Ion, its lens isn't optimized for underwater shooting, whereas with this, I'm not sure about the actual science of it, but that lens will help with the clarity underwater. So I've done a few tests with this. We've done a driving test where we had it on the dashboard mounted, and we went to a field, walked some dogs, and that was a good opportunity to do some slow motion testing. The dogs were jumping up and going crazy, and so that was a good way to test the slow motion recording of this. You've got three different modes. You've got 1080p at 30 frames a second. We have more than three, but the three main ones are 1080p at 30 frames per second, 720p at 30 frames a second, 720p at 60 frames a second, and you can also do 120 frames a second. And there's also an option for VGA if you want to record lots of data, lots of video, but use very little data. So that's handy as well. So let's take a look at some actual footage. So first up, we've got the steady shot on, and so yeah, it does look quite steady. It does a very good job of stabilising the whole scene. And then we have it with the steady shot off, and you can notice the field of view is much wider. So here we have the two next to each other, and you can see, yeah, it's a lot wider, but it is a lot more shaky as well. So as you can see from the two videos, they're the two clips, the steady shot works really well. It's probably the best implementation of video stabilization that I've seen. Works really well, but you do get a lot of a decrease in your field of view. I mean, it's quite a big jump in field of view from when you turn it on and off. So if you're wanting to get the maximum amount of view you possibly can, it's probably not the best thing to do. But if you are just wanting stable, smooth video, it's a very good technology. So now we're going to take a look at just a simple car journey. The camera was mounted on the dashboard with an adhesive kind of mount, the flat one that I showed you. It held it pretty firmly, and there was no real shaking. I mean, if you touch it and hold it and try to move it, then you know you might shake it a little bit, but you know it's quite sturdy. It's not going to move anywhere if you go over a bump or something, so that's quite good. So let's take a look at that video. Okay, so I think it fared pretty well in that test. There was no real shaking, so it looked really good. Um, so the video itself, I think, was acceptable. The colours were a little oversaturated, I think. The sky definitely was not that blue on that day. It was a sunny day, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like Caribbean blue skies, minus the clouds. But yeah. Um, it was very, very oversaturated, and I think a little bit overexposed as well. It was a little bit too bright. Um, but on the whole, the actual detail in the video was very good. It's very crisp. When you were driving past the trees, you could make out individual branches on the trees and twigs and things like that. So I think the detail is there. The color saturation is way off, I think, and just the color reproduction is just not that good. But I think part of that was down to the fact that it was put into its waterproof case. Obviously, having another layer of plastic over, or glass, or whatever the actual lens is on the inside, having that over the actual lens is not going to do it any favours. On top of that, being butt up against the windscreen of the car, that's not going to do any favours either. But in this situation, I think it fared pretty well, and I think the quality of the video pays off because you can edit the colouring afterwards. You can put it into a video editing program and kind of compensate the colours, whereas you can't bring back detail. If it didn't capture the detail, it's not going to be there. But if you captured the colour, you can kind of change it. So on the whole, I think it did a very good job, and there was no real shaking either. So now we're going to have a look at the video that we took on the way back, and that has some very loud music in it. And actually, the waterproof casing actually did it a benefit here because it stopped the microphone from taking so much audio in because it was playing very loud music. We were playing loud music in the car, and had the waterproof case not been on, I think it would have clipped the audio a lot more, and it didn't do that in this test. So I think that was a very good representation of what the audio would be like in the waterproof case. So let's take a look at that. Okay then, so the final test we've got in this review is the slow motion test. Now we took some dogs walking, and we threw some balls around and they splashed around in some mud, so we thought it'd be a really good way to test the slow motion, because they're going to be jumping up and down, ears flapping, all that stuff, so it will look really cool in slow motion. So we used the 720p 120 frames per second mode on the camera, and these are the results. So I'll take this time to explain more about the camera. Overall, I'm really impressed with it. The colour saturation when it's outside of its case seems to improve no end compared to when it's inside its waterproof case. It's just the major downside is that you have to have it in its waterproof case to have the ability to mount it on a tripod or any kind of tripod mount. And that is the biggest downside I've seen on one of these cameras, to be fair. The Ion gets around this problem in the best, most sophisticated way. It's just have the tripod mount in the camera itself, which just makes it so much better to use. Image quality on this though is very good. The detail is very good, as you would expect with a Samsung sensor. Sorry, a Sony sensor. Color blocking is still an issue with this camera, as it is with all action cameras, but it's not the best, that is. There are action cameras that suffer less from it, namely the Ion Air Pro 2 and 3 both have better or less color blocking than this model. The GoPro also does have a little less color blocking, which basically, when I say color blocking, I mean if you're in a field or in a forest or something where there's lots of stuff that is the same color, like browns and greens, you lose detail when they're all clumped together, and you get colors and groups of pixels that clump together, and it looks kind of ugly. It looks like you're losing a lot of detail, and so that's probably not where these cameras excel. The best videos you see of these cameras are in places like deserts and things like that, dusty environments where there isn't lots of, well, everything's the same colour, but it's not all like trees and grass, so you don't lose a lot of detail. So let's talk a little bit more about the camera. Battery life is actually very good. I was getting about 2 hours battery life, maybe 2.5 hours with Wi-Fi off when recording 1080p video. My big problem with it was with the time-lapse feature. It seemed to drain battery just as quick as if you were recording a normal video, which shouldn't be the case because all it's doing is taking a photo every 10 seconds. So that was a bit of an issue for me. It means you couldn't leave the camera out overnight and do like a full daytime, nighttime cycle time lapse, which was what I was aiming to do. I had to just do it over a couple of hours. But you know, it's still nice that the feature is there. The ability to plug in an external microphone is very nice if you're wanting to do more of a professional audio kind of thing, because the microphone in this, of course, I mean, it's acceptable for casual use, but it's not going to be used for anything professional. So that's about it for this camera. We'll have more on the Ion Air Pro. Well, most probably next month when we go to New Zealand. I'll be recording some footage over there. Should be a little bit more action-packed, and maybe some more footage of Sony cameras, probably the AS30 and the AS100B. Possibly a GoPro as well, although I'm not promising anything there. What else is coming up? We've got Antec reviews, lots of really nice bits from Antec that we'll be reviewing, water cooling cases and stuff like that. So thanks for watching, and see you soon.